And we are live. So, in an hour, 1 hour, 60 minutes, well, less than that, I will be on my way to go see The Flash, which I have heard a wide spectrum, possibly the full spectrum of reviews so far, without spoilers, with spoilers. I am okay with hearing the spoilers. I'm not terribly invested in it, but I'm curious. So I'm going to check that out. I got an 11 o'clock matinee, and I'll be dropping a review, probably with spoilers, uh, excuse me, at 4 p.m. today. However, I'm here right now to talk about something that was a ton of fun, and I happened to see it last night. That is Extraction 2, which dropped last night on Netflix. This is the second film directed by Sam Hargrave. His first film was the first Extraction. And Extraction stories basically are about the main character, Tyler Rake, who is a for-hire soldier, kind of a soldier of fortune commando, who seems to specialize in rescuing people. The first movie I covered a couple of days ago, or was it yesterday? Was it yesterday or the day before? Where he goes into India to save a boy who is the son of a drug lord who's been kidnapped by another drug lord, but it's an innocent boy. He's not an evil kid, and just nonstop action. About 15 minutes into it, it's just an hour and 45 minutes afterwards of pure action. So I loved it. It had a pretty good cast. He had David Harbour in there, and a couple of other people that are on his team that I can't remember. However, I was doing that with the lead up to this film, and that was Extraction 2. In the first movie, real quick, we had great fight scenes, hand-to-hand. We had knife fights. We had gun fights. We had car chases, long, continuous shots. This movie gives us more of the same. I rated the first movie out of 5 stars. I gave it 4.5. It doesn't branch off into cinema, but I would argue it's the highest level of entertainment, and I loved it. The second one picks up where the first one left off, where he is recovering from his wounds from the first one. You're left to believe that, he barely survived that one. And so he spends a lot of time in the beginning, probably the first 15 minutes, again, building himself back up to full strength or close to it. I should mention these are based on a graphic novel. And this specific one is based on the Quidad, the Quidad graphic novel by Andre Park, which I checked and is a top dollar fucking purchase out there. I'm going to have to see it. It was like a hardcover. It was like $150 on Amazon, but usually you can find them much cheaper. I'm going to check into that. Again, he spends the first 15 minutes rebuilding himself, and then guarantee this has spoilers. So if you want to come back later, I'm going to start the spoilers in 5, 3. Okay. He gets a visit from Idris Elba, who is not in the first one. I had no idea that Idris is cast. I know a lot of people feel that Idris Elba is in everything these days. I have no problem with that. Because I think I have that similar argument, but with Pedro Pascal, because I don't think Pedro Pascal can really act. He's just kind of annoying. But Idris Elba is there recruiting him to pull his ex-sister-in-law out of a Georgian prison. Apparently, this woman really knows what love is, and she marries a Georgian crime boss who's gone to prison, and they've put her in the prison sort of like a conjugal roommate along with their children. And so they're all living together in this Georgian prison, and he is being hired to bring her back out of there. Hemsworth still has it. I mean, he looks the part. He looks like he could kick some ass. He kicks a lot of ass. They have these continuously long action shots, very reminiscent of what we've seen in the recent John Wick films. where the shot just goes on and on and on and on. He does a bang up fucking job. Graphic fight scenes, broken bones, this really sort of nasty hand to hand that's going on. He breaks into the prison to bring them out. The extraction scene from the prison is fantastic. Fantastic. Tons of beatings being handed out and taken. Hemsworth, in this sense, reminds me a lot of Bruce Willis, in that it's not an Arnold Schwarzenegger type of thing where like nobody can touch him and nobody can do anything. He gets his ass kicked. He gets his ass kicked pretty hard. There are guns, knives, shivs, clubs from the guards. I mean, he basically is on his own to pull 3 people, 2 children, 1 very small, and a woman out of a men's prison. So you can imagine how difficult that must be, or you probably can't. From there, you've got an SUV chase scene that is just fantastic, where they're trying to get away because the husband ends up being killed in the prison, which is not a bad thing. But his older brother, who is the drug lord or the drug kingpin or the crime kingpin outside of the prison or in the city, now wants revenge and sends his full army after Hemsworth with the intention of killing the wife and probably the kids if he has to. Great chase scenes, fantastic with those. From there, they board a train. The train scenes were probably my favorite. Fantastic fight scenes, close-in shots, helicopters, huge guns going off in every fucking direction. Just a ton of fun. It never stops. They've even got this ugly, angsty little teenage kid named Sandro, who is the teenage son of the crime boss. So he's got mixed feelings about where his loyalty lies, whether it's with his mother or his father, or Chris Hemsworth, who technically is his uncle, that he really doesn't know. It's just great because the kid is, I bring it up, he's ugly, and it's a great casting by the director to bring in this kid whose face you kind of just want to punch. You just want to punch this kid in the face or give him a smack. But he plays an integral role in the story, switching loyalties back and forth. It gets a little implausible, probably somewhere around the halfway mark, because at one point they bring it out to Vienna. And then from there, the fights continue. And so you're wondering, okay, how much power does this, Georgian death squad really have, to go across, international lines and, airspace and all these sorts of things. It's a little, it's especially in the post 9/11, post-terrorist, in post-terrorist world. But that's fine. You're willing to overlook it just for the great action scenes. Again, there's another fight that takes place in the skyscraper. When the final fight occurs, it's pretty fucking good. And the guy who plays the villain, I can't remember his name or the actor's name, does a really great job of playing a villain. He's a bit more than one-dimensional, and you're given a little bit of background as to why he is the way he is. And unfortunately, it's something that a lot of people can relate to. When I saw this guy, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I know maybe 1 or 2 people like this. And, not to that extreme, of course, but you're like, okay, yeah, I could see, you've had that beaten into you. It's that sort of story. I gave, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I gave the first movie 4.5 out of 5. That's very high praise for me. But I thought it was a reasonable rating. I'm not one of those people, perfection is unattainable, that kind of bullshit, because that's more about the asshole saying that than it is about the product they're reviewing. This one falls a little bit short. Just a little bit, because there are some obvious things. You're like, okay, if I was 16, I would be like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm not 16 anymore, so I'll just say I'll give it a 4. And I mean a very, very solid 4. I would love to give it a 4.5, but it didn't quite do that. But it ends with the idea that we could be seeing a lot more of Tyler Rake. And I hope that's the case. This is very much something that works for him. I think that these sorts of things, Hemsworth makes money, I'm sure, doing them, but the success of them and their continuation is based on subscriber numbers. And right now, streaming services are all struggling across the board. But this is very much a character that I would love to see on the big screen. I'd love to see Tyler Rake on the big screen. I would see that just as easily as I would see a John Wick movie. No problem whatsoever. Maybe even a little bit of a bigger budget. You do get the feeling that he's going to be back. You see Idris Elba in the last 5 minutes of the movie, very heavily inferring that there's going to be more. I hope so. I want to get my hands on some of these graphic novels and get a chance to read them and add them to the collection over here. This sounds like just a lot of fun. But yeah, 4 stars out of 5. I recommend it. Go see it this weekend. 2 hours, 2 solid hours. An hour and 45 minutes of just nonstop action after the first 15 minutes of intro, setting you up for the new story. It kicks a lot of ass. Okay, that's my review. All the very best, everybody. I've got to leave in about 15 minutes to go see The Flash. I'm sure I'm expecting a mid-movie, and that's probably what I'll get, but I'm not here to bury it in advance like a lot of reviewers. And I'm not here to, sit here and give it a reach around like that either, like some other reviewers. I'm going to call it down the middle, and if it deserves praise, I'm going to give it. If it's, in the bag, I'm going to give that too. So I'll see you again at 4 o'clock with my review for The Flash. That will be a spoiler review. And okay, take care. Have a good one.